In this short chapter or section, we're going to look at another example that involves a composite model. But the two triangles we're going to look at is gross data and net of reinsurance data. And so the composite data set is gross and net. And we already have models for each one of the, well, actually, there's no need for me to optimize. I already have a composite model, a composite model. Why don't I just run it? Here it is here. And here are the correlations. So let's see what we have here. We'll remove this. You'll notice that the correlations, the process correlation, are very high. This is the net data. If you look at the net data, for instance, the year 2000 is slightly high, and then it drops a bit down to the 0 line for year 2001. You'll see the same kind of pattern in the gross data. The year 2000 is high, then it drops a bit. So there's a lot of process correlation. If we look at the model display now, which you kind of expect, I mean, net is part of gross, so you'd expect a lot of process correlation. The other thing is that the net and gross data share the same trends from development year 0 to 1 and 1 to 2, but the decay is different. So if you look at the decay in the gross data, it's minus 36% plus minus 2, whereas in the net it's a bit lighter, and they're significantly not the same, which makes sense. A bit of a lighter decay than in the gross data. Now, if you look at the calendar year trends, if you look at the gross data, you'll see that you have a calendar year trend of 6.81% plus minus 1.27%. And if you just examine the residuals by eye along the calendar years, it kind of makes sense that it's pretty stable. And it's been pretty stable for about 15 years. Now, if you look at the net data, however, we have an estimate of the trend, which is 0, which might be something which is quite good or quite beneficial to the cedant. What we're actually observing is that the risks that the cedant is retaining are not really growing along the calendar years, whereas the risks that the reinsurer must be assuming must be the part that's growing. Well, that's kind of beneficial to maybe the amount of exposure increases along the accident years in terms of the reinsurance that is ceded. I don't know. I don't even know what the past reinsurance programs are worth. Let's just do a forecast. And if you look at the coefficient of variation of the gross reserves, you find out that the reason we have a 0 in 2002 is because they stopped writing the business. You find that the coefficient of variation is about 15%. However, for the net data, the coefficient of variation is about 17%. It's slightly higher. Now, why is that happening? If we go back to the model display, the reason this is happening is because the net data has got more process variability. This is over 1.7 here, over 0.7, I should say. The gross data is just over 0.5. So the net data actually has more process variability. If you like, the normal distributions for the net data are wider, got a larger variance than the gross data. And that's the reason, essentially, that the net data has a slightly higher coefficient of variation of reserves. Now, that means in terms of capital, the percentage capital you would need above the mean site, the 95th percentile for the net data, would be slightly more in percentage terms that you would need for the gross data. So unless the premium that you paid for this transfer of risk is really very low or too low, then the reinsurance that you have retrospectively is not really working well for you in terms of capital efficiency. And I've seen a lot of examples like this where when you model the net data and the gross data, you can see that there's nothing actually that is beneficial to the cedant in terms of actually reducing the coefficient of variation of the net reserves vis-a-vis the gross reserves. Thank you.